By late 2024, a glossy romance film had erupted into Hollywood's ugliest feud. Blake Lively filed a federal complaint accusing director co-star Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios of sexual harassment, retaliation, and fostering a hostile work environment during the production of It Ends With Us, 2024. Her filings alleged a coordinated, smear campaign, designed to destroy her reputation, claims she said were backed by internal texts, emails, and PR playbooks. Baldoni denied wrongdoing and counterattacked with a headline-grabbing $400 million lawsuit naming Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and PR reps, only to have a judge dismiss that suit in June 2025. Weeks later, unsealed messages splashed across entertainment sites, stoking a culture warfare around a movie already scrutinized for its handling of domestic abuse themes. As discovery continues and more documents surface, one question keeps pulsing beneath the clickbait. Is this a righteous fight for accountability, or a mutually assured destruction that will rewrite how stars, directors, and studios wage war in the streaming era? To understand how Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni arrived at the volatile clash surrounding It Ends With Us, one must first step back into the worlds that shaped them. Blake Ellender Lively was born on August 25, 1987, in Tarzana, California, into a family steeped in show business. Her father, Ernie Lively, was an actor and acting coach. Her mother, Elaine, worked as a talent manager. Blake grew up as the youngest of 5 children, all of whom dabbled in film and television. For Blake, performing was less a choice than a birthright. Childhood summers were filled with sets, auditions, and the constant hum of Hollywood ambition. Yet she was also a shy, grounded child, encouraged by her parents to balance the dream factory with normalcy. This mixture of familial support and constant exposure to the industry's machinery gave her both opportunity and resilience, qualities she would carry into her later fame and, eventually, the courtroom battles of 2024. Justin Louis Baldoni, by contrast, was born on January 24, 1984, in Los Angeles but raised in Medford, Oregon. His upbringing was shaped not only by the arts but also by faith. His father, Sam Baldoni, was a film producer of Italian descent, while his mother, Sharon, came from a Jewish family. Justin was also profoundly influenced by the Baha'i faith, which emphasizes service, justice, and unity. Childhood for Justin was marked by both athleticism, he excelled in soccer, and a sense of purpose rooted in spirituality. His family instilled in him the belief that storytelling could be a vehicle for healing and empathy. Though their backgrounds differed, Blake's immersed in Hollywood pragmatism, Justin's rooted in faith and idealism. Both were products of environments that cultivated ambition and a desire for visibility. Blake grew up understanding the transactional realities of stardom, while Justin was driven by the idea of art as a tool for social good. These early influences not only guided them into entertainment but also set the stage for the collision of values that would later explode on a film set meant to tell a story about love and trauma. Blake Lively's path into Hollywood was not carved through formal education in the arts but through immersion. She attended Burbank High School in California, where she was an active student, class president, cheerleader, and member of the championship choir. Although she initially had ambitions of studying at Stanford University, her older brother Eric took her to an audition that would alter her course forever. With almost no professional training, Blake landed the role of Bridget in The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, 2005. The film became a sleeper hit, launching her into the public eye. 2 years later, her breakout as Serena van der Woodsen on the TV series Gossip Girl, 2007 to 2012, transformed her into an international style icon. Education had taken a backseat to on-the-job learning, as Blake navigated the pressures of overnight fame with a mixture of instinct and inherited know-how from her Hollywood family. Justin Baldoni's early journey unfolded differently. After graduating from South Medford High School in Oregon, where he had excelled as an athlete, Justin briefly attended California State University, Long Beach, but left before finishing. His focus shifted to entertainment and modeling. where his striking looks led to commercials and minor television roles. Baldoni's career found traction when he joined the cast of Everwood, 2004 to 2006, followed by appearances in shows like The Bold and the Beautiful. However, he was not content with acting alone. Justin's passion for purposeful storytelling led him behind the camera, directing and producing socially conscious projects. His 2012 documentary series My Last Days, profiling people with terminal illnesses, garnered critical praise and established him as a filmmaker with heart. Both Blake and Justin entered Hollywood young, propelled more by charisma and opportunity than by academic credentials. Yet their early choices hinted at divergent philosophies. Blake embraced the spotlight, thriving in glossy roles that celebrated glamour and cultural influence. Justin gravitated toward projects with moral undertones, framing himself as an advocate for empathy in entertainment. These contrasting paths, one forged in mainstream stardom, the other in socially driven narratives, would eventually converge on It Ends With Us, a project meant to bridge commercial success with sensitive subject matter. Instead, it became the battleground of their most defining conflict. By the late 2000s, both Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni had stepped firmly into the Hollywood spotlight, albeit in very different ways. Their careers, one burnished by mainstream glamour, the other by heartfelt storytelling, would become the foundations for the clash surrounding It Ends With Us. For Blake Lively, the breakthrough was Gossip Girl, 2007 to 2012. Cast as Serena van der Woodsen, the golden-haired socialite of Manhattan's Upper East Side, Blake quickly became a household name. The CW drama was more than just a TV hit, it was a cultural moment that defined an entire generation's fashion, slang, and obsessions. Suddenly, Lively was not only an actress but also a style icon. Fashion houses clamored to dress her. Anna Wintour took her under Vogue's wing. Karl Lagerfeld enlisted her as a Chanel ambassador. Yet Blake resisted being confined to television. She transitioned into films such as The Town, 2010, directed by Ben Affleck, where critics praised her gritty, unglamorous performance, and Savages, 2012, which proved she could hold her own in high-intensity dramas. Marriage to Ryan Reynolds in 2012 amplified her public image, crafting a brand of wit, elegance, and relatability that endeared her to millions. By the mid-2010s, Blake was firmly established as one of Hollywood's most bankable and beloved leading ladies. Justin Baldoni's career flourished in a more understated arc. After years of bit parts, his breakthrough came with Jane the Virgin, 2014-2019, where he played Rafael Solano, the conflicted hotelier and love interest opposite Gina Rodriguez. The show's playful mix of satire, melodrama, and telenovela tropes won critics and a loyal fanbase. For Justin, the role was transformative. Suddenly, he was not just a handsome face but a recognizable star with a platform. Yet he consistently emphasized his deeper mission, using storytelling to heal and inspire. My Last Days, 2012, his docuseries about terminally ill individuals, earned critical acclaim and reinforced his reputation as a director who married compassion with craft. By the late 2010s, Baldoni had taken bold steps into directing feature films. 5 Feet Apart, 2019, a romantic drama about two teens with cystic fibrosis, grossed over $90 million worldwide on a modest budget, solidifying his reputation as a filmmaker who could turn sensitive subjects into box office successes. He followed with Clouds, 2020, based on the life of musician Zach Sobiech, another heartfelt narrative that resonated deeply with audiences. His company, Wayfarer Studios, became a hub for projects that blended entertainment with social consciousness. Both stars were entering It Ends With Us at the height of influence. Blake brought marquee power, a trusted fanbase, and Hollywood polish. Justin contributed his credibility as a filmmaker who approached difficult stories with empathy and depth. Adapted from Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, the film seemed destined to be a major cultural event, a romance drama with star wattage and moral resonance. Its themes of domestic abuse and resilience demanded sensitivity. But the combination of Lively's reach and Baldoni's vision suggested a potential triumph. Instead, it became a powder keg. The very traits that had once defined their success, Blake's insistence on image and professionalism, Justin's conviction in purposeful storytelling, clashed under the pressures of production. What was meant to be a pinnacle in both careers instead detonated into Hollywood's most talked about legal feud. The private lives of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni had long shaped the way the public perceived them, adding another layer of fascination to their eventual courtroom conflict. For Blake Lively, romance became part of her star persona almost from the moment she rose to fame. During her Gossip Girl years, tabloids closely followed her relationship with co-star Penn Badgley. The pairing blurred lines between fiction and reality, Serena and Dan on screen, Blake and Penn off-screen, and fueled fan intrigue until their quiet breakup in 2010. Briefly linked to Leonardo DiCaprio in 2011, Blake demonstrated her ability to hold her own in Hollywood's most scrutinized spotlight. But her defining relationship began later that year, when she started dating actor Ryan Reynolds after meeting on the set of Green Lantern. Their romance unfolded quickly, culminating in marriage in 2012. Together, Lively and Reynolds crafted one of Hollywood's most beloved celebrity marriages. Their public banter, teasing birthday posts, witty interviews, and red carpet appearances painted them as glamorous yet relatable. Behind the sheen, they built a family, welcoming 4 children while carefully balancing careers with domestic life. Blake often spoke about prioritizing motherhood, while Ryan echoed her sentiments, insisting they never worked on projects simultaneously to ensure one parent was always present. This family-centered image became central to Blake's public identity, a modern star who combined fashion, fame, and maternal devotion. Justin Baldoni's personal life carried a different but equally compelling narrative. In 2013, he married Swedish actress and activist Emily Baldoni, née Foxler. Their wedding reflected Justin's Baha'i faith and emphasis on spirituality, underscoring his public persona as a man committed to love, service, and family values. Together, they welcomed 2 children and frequently shared glimpses of their family life on social media, positioning themselves as advocates for conscious parenting and gender equality. Justin's TED Talk, "Why I'm Done Trying to Be Man Enough," 2017, further reinforced his role as a cultural voice challenging stereotypes of masculinity. Emily often appeared alongside him in projects highlighting empathy and authenticity, strengthening the image of the Baldonis as Hollywood's thoughtful, socially engaged couple. In many ways, Blake and Justin represented contrasting archetypes. Blake, the embodiment of red carpet glamour balanced with maternal grace; Justin, the filmmaker activist promoting vulnerability and justice. Both cultivated reputations that blended professional and personal credibility, making them more than entertainers, they were aspirational figures. That is why the eruption of accusations in 2024 shocked fans so deeply. For Blake, alleging harassment and a hostile work environment was not just a legal action, it was a direct contradiction of her long-standing image as a woman who carefully controlled her narrative. For Justin, accused of misconduct while simultaneously branding himself as an advocate for empathy and equality, the allegations cut to the heart of his credibility. Their marriages, once shields against scandal, became intertwined in the story. Ryan Reynolds was named in Justin's countersuit, accused of participating in a supposed campaign to destroy Baldoni's reputation, while Emily Baldoni was thrust into defending a husband whose public persona seemed at odds with the charges. Thus, their love lives, once sources of admiration, transformed into additional stakes in a public battle. The fight was no longer just Blake versus Justin, it was 2 families, 2 public brands, and 2 carefully constructed narratives colliding in the harsh glare of Hollywood's legal and cultural spotlight. What began as a promising adaptation of Colleen Hoover's bestseller It Ends With Us soon became a nightmare of litigation, headlines, and reputational collapse for everyone involved. In late 2024, as the film neared release, Blake Lively filed a federal lawsuit against Justin Baldoni and his company Wayfarer Studios. The allegations were explosive: claims of sexual harassment, a hostile work environment, and deliberate efforts to retaliate against her when she raised concerns. Lively's legal team described a campaign of intimidation and smear tactics, pointing to text messages and PR memos that, they argued, revealed calculated strategies to undermine her credibility. The filing alone would have been enough to rattle Hollywood, but Baldoni's response escalated matters beyond imagination. In early 2025, he countersued for $400 million, not only naming Lively but also her husband Ryan Reynolds and their public relations representatives. His lawsuit accused them of orchestrating a conspiracy to destroy his career, alleging that Reynolds used his influence to pressure studios and media outlets to side with his wife. The sheer size of the damages claim stunned industry observers. It was one of the largest defamation countersuits ever attempted by a Hollywood director. The spectacle deepened in June 2025 when a judge dismissed Baldoni's $400 million countersuit, citing insufficient evidence. The ruling was a blow to Baldoni, but the damage to both parties' reputations was already profound. Court documents unsealed during the process revealed private communications, emails, text threads, and internal strategies that painted a picture of deep mistrust and toxic collaboration on set. Fans who had anticipated a film about resilience and healing were instead treated to a saga of betrayal and accusation. The scandal also tapped into broader cultural debates. It ends with this as a story centered on domestic abuse and recovery. Its message depends on sensitivity and authenticity. That such a project became a battlefield for claims of harassment and retaliation struck many as bitterly ironic. Advocacy groups questioned whether Hollywood had learned anything from past reckonings like #MeToo, while critics argued that both sides were using the language of justice as weapons in a personal war. For Lively, the scandal cut against years of carefully cultivated image. Known for elegance, family devotion, and professional composure, she now found herself at the center of tabloid fodder more intense than any red carpet fashion frenzy. Supporters rallied around her courage in speaking out, while skeptics wondered whether personal and professional rivalries fueled the claims. Her marriage to Ryan Reynolds, long celebrated as Hollywood's most relatable fairy tale, was suddenly dragged into depositions and counterclaims. For Baldoni, the fallout was equally devastating. His public persona, anchored in TED Talks about healthy masculinity and projects emphasizing empathy, stood in sharp contrast to allegations of harassment and retaliation. Even before a verdict, the very fact of such charges eroded his standing as a moral voice. Wayfarer Studios, his banner for socially conscious storytelling, now carried the stigma of scandal. Investors hesitated, collaborators distanced themselves, and projects in development were quietly shelved. As the scandal unfolded, Hollywood insiders whispered about collateral damage, the chilling effect on mid-budget adaptations, the reluctance of stars to work with passionate but polarizing directors, and the new playbook for crisis PR in an era where text messages could surface in open court. The film itself, meanwhile, was overshadowed. Instead of being remembered as a sensitive adaptation of Hoover's work, It Ends With This became synonymous with one of the ugliest celebrity feuds of its era. Ultimately, there were no victors, only casualties. The court battles reduced reputations, friendships, and professional credibility to ash. In the words of one industry columnist, the movie promised catharsis, the production delivered carnage. For Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, what was meant to be a defining artistic collaboration became the scandal that redefined their careers. The fallout from the It Ends With This scandal was swift and unforgiving. Both Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni entered the project at the height of their careers. Yet by mid-2025, their reputations bore scars that no stylist or PR team could easily conceal. For Blake Lively, the lawsuit was a double-edged sword. On one hand, she won admiration from advocacy groups for standing up against what she described as harassment and retaliation. Supporters praised her willingness to risk her pristine brand in pursuit of accountability. On the other hand, Critics questioned whether her claims blurred the line between genuine grievance and Hollywood politics. Studios, known for their aversion to controversy, quietly reconsidered attaching her to upcoming projects. Endorsement deals slowed, and media outlets once eager to cover her red carpet looks now led with courtroom sketches. Her marriage to Ryan Reynolds, once a light-hearted social media spectacle, suddenly carried a heavier tone as he was named in Baldoni's countersuit. Although that suit was dismissed, the association left a lingering shadow. Justin Baldoni fared no better. His carefully cultivated image as a filmmaker devoted to empathy, healing, and gender equality was severely undermined by the allegations. Even though no verdict confirmed wrongdoing, the mere presence of harassment claims tarnished his standing. His $400 million countersuit, dismissed for lack of evidence, struck many as excessive and retaliatory, eroding public sympathy. Wayfarer Studios, once a beacon of socially conscious storytelling, faced investor unease and project delays. Baldoni's brand, built on trust and moral authority, was shaken at its foundation. The industry consequences rippled outward. It ends with this underperformed financially, weighed down by scandal rather than elevated by star power. Distributors learned a harsh lesson about how off-screen battles can derail even the most anticipated adaptation. Other studios began tightening contracts, adding stricter clauses about workplace behavior and public conduct. Hollywood had been here before, but the Baldoni Lively saga reminded executives how quickly a prestige project could morph into a liability. In terms of comebacks, both stars face steep climbs. Blake Lively still commands an immense fanbase, bolstered by years of goodwill and a fashion presence that remains magnetic. A well-chosen role, perhaps in a prestige streaming series or an indie film that leans into her dramatic potential, could shift the narrative back to her artistry. Yet the timing will be critical. Any misstep risks reopening old debates. Justin Baldoni's path is even narrower. His credibility as a moral advocate has been undercut, and rebuilding trust will require transparency, humility, and perhaps a retreat from the spotlight. Some suggest he might focus on smaller, non-Hollywood ventures, documentaries, philanthropic projects, or faith-based storytelling, to re-establish his voice. Whether audiences will embrace such a return remains uncertain. Ultimately, the scandal left both figures at crossroads. For Lively, the challenge lies in reconciling her family-centered, glamorous image with the grit of legal combat. For Baldoni, the task is even heavier: to convince the public that the values he preaches are not mere branding. Hollywood rarely forgets, but it does forgive when narratives are reframed. The question now is whether either of them can write a new chapter convincing enough to eclipse the darkest one of their careers. As of late 2025, the scandal surrounding It Ends With Us remains unresolved in the court of public opinion. Even as the legal proceedings inch forward, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are no longer simply actress and director. They have become case studies in how swiftly Hollywood alliances can collapse under the weight of accusation and counterclaim. Blake has retreated somewhat from the spotlight, choosing family life and selective appearances while her legal team manages ongoing filings. Though she still commands a loyal fanbase, her image has shifted, no longer just the effortless style icon. She is now also the actress who took on a studio and a director in one of Hollywood's most publicized disputes. Whether that evolution strengthens her credibility or limits her career opportunities will depend on how audiences and studios recalibrate their trust. Justin Baldoni, meanwhile, faces a different challenge. Wayfarer Studios has scaled back public announcements, focusing instead on smaller projects less likely to draw controversy. Justin's personal brand, once synonymous with vulnerability and advocacy, now carries a sharp edge of skepticism. For some, he remains a voice for empathy; for others, he is emblematic of how easily moral authority can fracture when tested. The film itself, ironically, has become almost secondary. It Ends With Us was meant to be a story about breaking cycles of abuse and reclaiming strength. But its legacy may forever be overshadowed by the very conflicts it sought to dramatize. Industry insiders whisper that both Lively and Baldoni will need years, not months, to repair the damage. And yet, Hollywood is a place of reinvention. Stars have fallen harder and returned brighter, while scandals that once seemed insurmountable have faded with time. Will Blake Lively reclaim her throne as one of cinema's most beloved leading ladies? Will Justin Baldoni rebuild his reputation as a filmmaker with a conscience, or fade into the margins of an industry quick to replace its tarnished idols? For now, the curtain has not closed. The scandal has rewritten their stories, but the ending remains unwritten. Hollywood waits, watching, to see what chapter comes next.